Alas, there's only two of us. Craig is hiding away somewhere in a dark room as he will not face the earth or the public after what happened to the New York Giants at the weekend. I'm kidding. He's actually just at a Reading football match. Hello, welcome to this week's episode of the AV Club. My name is Shane. How you doing? And I'm with Ben Costello. Ben, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. We had a good weekend of football. We were across continents watching some football. It's crazy to think, but yeah, it was great.
Yeah, you were in the United Kingdom. I was in the United States. It was quite the weekend. A shorter episode for all of our listeners today, by the way. Just by virtue of the fact of my travel arrangements, I'm in the office today, despite the fact that I was just off a flight from Charlotte in North Carolina this morning, which means that I'm on the train home from here this evening. So unfortunately, this is a slightly shorter episode than normal, just for the fact that I have to run to the
Right.
train station. It's to complete my travel. The last time I was in bed, it was 8 a.m. Central, and I've been to three different airports on different planes, delays. I've been on like four different trains. It's the full planes, trains, and automobiles thing. But it's fun. But let's start with yourself. How was your Wembley experience? Your first time covering a game in the UK. It wasn't the classic we were all expecting it and hoping it would be when we previewed it this time last week. But pretty cool to get up close to the action.
I can't believe you're complaining about getting to fly to KC and watch the Kansas City Chiefs and get toured around the place like a VIP. Yeah, Wembley was great. Look, I've been there now as a fan and as part of the media, and it was different gravy. I had a great time. Yeah, they put up a really good spread, and the game wasn't what we'd hoped. Unfortunately, I don't think it was bad as the week before with the Broncos and Jets, but that bar was already quite low. But it was a good atmosphere. I think everybody was up for it. You do fear with the third week of the London games that the vibes are a little low and people are kind of coming around to the end of it. We experienced a little bit of that. Was it the year before or 2 years prior when we did Ravens versus Titans?
Yeah.
Felt a little bit of that, but overall, yeah, it was great. I think the the UK really knows how to cover the NFL now, and they're really experienced at it, and everything just runs pretty smoothly. So
Yeah,
yeah,
we,
it was
we've
great.
we've attended a lot of duds between the AV club in the last couple of weeks because me and Craig were at the game against the Jets. The Jets are crap. We're going to talk about the Raiders now in a bit. I was there in the presence of the Raiders were just awful. And then what happened with the Jags? Like, I want to get your sense in this because obviously you were on the ground. We're like, was that performance just like exceptional from the Rams? Like, which was more important in that Wembley game? Was it amazing Rams performance, or did the Jags just completely drop a dud here? Because it's not like them to do that in Wembley.
No, it's absolutely the Jags, for want of a better word. Uh, no, I won't go there. No, it was
Shit
absolutely.
the bed.
I'm like, am I allowed to say shit in the bed? Yeah, yeah. They absolutely shit the bed, and it's absolutely more on them than it was the Rams. The Rams played great. They played efficient. They played complementary football. They weren't chasing the game like the Jags were, so they could come out and do everything they wanted to do. No team now is ever going to fly over a couple of days in advance after the Rams land on Saturday and come out. If they came out in the first half and only had 7 points, you would have heard it all week that they came unprepared. But they came out from the first quarter, first drive, and really showed out. So, but we expected that from the Rams. They're a really well coached team. So definitely the Jags shitting the bed is more of it, and it just seems like they're reeling from that one win in KC or against KC, and
Mm,
it,
yeah,
they haven't quite gotten off that high since.
it's amazing how much emotion they had to pour into that one, and it just hasn't quite come out since. And I think, like Connor has mentioned as well, how so much of their success has been based off getting turnovers, and if that dries up, then what else do you have? So yeah, no, it was an interesting one to watch. We were watching it on the jumbotron. This is my bit now to talk about Arrowhead. We were watching it on the jumbotron. We were on the sideline before the game. So just to explain my weekend to everybody, I got an email into my Irish Independent account a couple weeks ago. The Chiefs inviting me over as part of their international immersion weekend. They're bringing a few different guests from all the international markets that they're interested in to try and show the world who the Kansas City Chiefs are. So I was there. I spent most of the weekend with a journalist from Spain, a journalist from Mexico, two guys from Spain with the Madrid Bravos. So they're all speaking Spanish naturally. But then, they were, God bless them, they were so kind to speak English when I was in their presence, even though like there was 5 of them and 1 of me. There's another Mexican guy as well who works in like the chief Spanish page, language page. Awesome guy. They're all awesome dudes. But we went to Top Golf on Friday night, and it was me plus 5 Spanish speaking guys. And everyone's like, you sit in the front of the Uber, Shane, you're the English speaking guy. And even the Uber driver is from Cuba. I'm like, for fuck's sake, I can't get away from this. And then a German journalist turns up and he can also speak Spanish as well. So like my Duolingo, my 450 days of Duolingo doing Spanish has got me absolutely nothing. I couldn't converse with everybody unless they were speaking in English. And in fairness to them, like they were so kind and sound that they obliged me. But anyway,
it's great to see that they're flying people from pretty much every corner of the globe to come expand and welcome them into the NFL in some facet. I think more teams should do that. I only say that as someone who would put their hand up and say, yeah, I'll happily come.
Well, the interesting thing about the Chiefs is that in terms of the marketing thing, and it's what they're doing here is really fascinating, because most of the teams who are trying to expand internationally are picking a market and trying to be the biggest player in that market. The Steelers are doing so in Ireland. The Jags have tried to do their best to become London's team. The Chiefs are sitting back and saying, and Mark Donovan, the president of the Chiefs, and this is something I will be writing about in the newspaper in the next few weeks, was quite explicit and said, look at what we have here. We've got the best team that's made 7 AFC championships in a row. And then, the biggest pop star in the world is dating one of our biggest football stars. So we're going to try and become the world's team. Is what they call it, the world's team project. And that involves them bringing the Chiefs house to Dublin, as they are bringing to every city in who are hosting an NFL international game. They played in Brazil this year. They seem very keen to play another international game next year, even though it's the NFC team's turn to host one. And potentially they could end up playing against the Rams in Australia. That is on their schedule and is quite a high possibility. Or unless the Seahawks want to host a game in Europe and the Chiefs want to come and be the road team there, that is also a possibility. There's a lot moving around. But they're not picking one market and trying to focus on it. They want to become, the biggest team in Spain and Germany and England and Ireland and Mexico and Brazil and Australia and China and the moon. Doesn't matter. They're really pushing it and really, really ambitious. So it's amazing to sort of get an insight into that side of things. But of course, obviously, the behind the scenes stuff was really interesting. And Kansas City, by the way, is a fun place. It's not the most interesting city in the world, but if you were there for the game and you could, if you were there with friends, you could easily make a good weekend out of it. I wouldn't go there if I wasn't going to a Chiefs game, I'll be honest. In terms of like stuff to do there, but it was fun. It's clean, it's safe, easy to get around. Once you have Uber, and there's a free Lewis going through the middle of the city. I didn't know they had those in America. One streetcar that goes right through the heart of town. Fantastic barbecue, and they got a really nice jazz district. I didn't know the Kansas City apparently is one of the home of jazz music. They're hosting FIFA World Cup games later on this year, so really is a lot going on in one of the smaller cities in the American Midwest. But I want to talk about something which really stuck out to me on the field, and you. I imagine you've seen this as well, and this involves people who you have familiarity with. The Raiders just looked and felt so lacking in energy for a team that was playing against their biggest rivals, or one of their biggest rivals, a road game that they had to try and G themselves up for at noon, and B, a team that just come off the back of a win. Because I was there, and I as part of the fantastic treatment I got from the Chiefs over the weekend, I was on the sideline up until about 30 minutes before the game kicked off. And the side I was on was where the Chiefs were, not the Chiefs, the Raiders were when they were warming up. In fairness to Pete Carroll, he can still move. He's still running around. He's still trying to G his players up.
Look, the game as a whole, we were trying to catch as much of this as possible. We immediately finished up in Wembley, and we shot to the airport trying to get home for Sunday night. But we're sitting in the airport, we're trying to watch a bit of this, but we're watching Red Zone, and there's not much coming up. There's not much coming up about this game. It's definitely on the. We saw the Chiefs highlights. It might as well have been a Chiefs highlights reel on Red Zone, but the Raiders were just absolutely abysmal on all facets. As I said, I didn't see the game from start to finish, but I'm looking at the stats here, and I had to double check if they were correct. That
Yeah,
they are
no,
like
but the thing about
95 yards of total offense, like that's just absolutely abysmal. Like
yeah.
you would think that the game ended due to weather increments, or someone had to be carried off to hospital midway through the game, and they just cut it off. But then you look at the Chiefs, and they allowed 434 total yards. It's insane to me. And as you said, there's some familiarity there with some of the players. It feels like the Las Vegas Seahawks over there.
Yeah.
And the recipe was great with Geno Smith, but with Geno, you got to accept the turnovers for what they are. He is gonna throw a few, but you accept it when he's throwing touchdowns in comparison, and he's not right now.
But that's the thing. I mean, he's his body is a factory that turns passes into turnovers, right? That's the way he's been playing this year. But this week it was like the offense was actually non-existent. He didn't even look like he was going to throw a pick because he actually wasn't trying that. And I think he became so remarkably conservative. But the point I wanted to make is, and seeing like so close to the sideline when they're warming up, and then I was in the tunnel. So there's a tunnel in the corner of the stadium where the road team goes to get into their dressing room. And I saw them all coming in and coming out. Max Crosby had a bit of a limp at halftime. That was a bit unusual to see. But you know when a team is down, and I think the Raiders are down 21-0 at halftime, you look, where's the spark? Where's the frustration? There was nothing. They were just so lacking energy. And even in the warm-ups beforehand, it was like everyone was on the piss the night beforehand. I don't know.
It's amazing how 7 weeks of a difference can change the entire how you look at a season. You know, the Raiders come out and they beat the Patriots week 1. That is not the case. You have high hopes for the Raiders, you have low hopes for the Patriots. That's absolutely not the case now with the Patriots leading their division. It's and the Raiders looking as bad as they are, and then to circle back to the Seahawks, they lose in week 1 and their offense looks stagnant, and then you have 5 100-yard plus games for Jackson Smith and Jigba, and they look really great on offense. So it's really hard to tell how teams are going to look every year in, year out, and you can win as many off seasons as you want. Connor, a longtime Bears fan, can attest to this, that winning the off season does not translate at all. And what a team looks like on paper does not always turn out to be as successful. So it's seeming like this experiment in Las Vegas is not working out so far. There's still a lot of season left, but boy.
Yeah, but like their passing game, their offensive game was non-existent. The defense, I think, can you say that the Chiefs found a lot of room with their wide receivers all being healthy, and Travis Kelce had a lot of room to work as well? Yes, he did, but he was given a lot of room as well. I think it's fair to say it got to the point where in the fourth quarter, both teams are playing backup quarterbacks, and like the Chiefs basically knelt out the entire fourth quarter, almost as a mercy rule, which is just like weird.
They knelt it out with like 2.5 minutes left, which is unheard of, and the Raiders had 3 timeouts. They just let it roll. Which is I've never seen in my life. I was looking and trying to figure out the maths, but yeah, it was crazy.
No, and this is the thing, like people are saying, well, shall we put the Raiders in the mix of the worst team in the league? If we look at what else is happening in Tennessee and in New York, obviously the Jets are still very much the worst team in the league in record and also in just how they're playing. But I don't know, just the complete lack of energy from that team was really, really surprising. And we'll talk about the Chiefs more as the season goes on. But yeah, that was the so that was my experience. A great, unbelievable stadium, top of the bucket list, has been for a while. It was an honor to be able to go there. So I didn't mean I had to miss Wembley. It means I wasn't there to see the Rams and the Jags, unfortunately.
I had a seat in the plane over next to me, empty, which was great. And I'm sitting there thinking, I was like, was this Shane's seat? This has worked out great.
Yeah, it probably was. It could very well.
Yeah, it was very full. Yeah, possibly.
Right, anyway, sorry. A reminder, by the way, after our international reminiscence there at the start, that the AV Club was brought to you in association with the TapHouse in Ranelagh. We're looking forward. Now we're firmly back on home soil. We are going to be doing something fun there in the next couple of weeks. As well as that, this coming weekend is the 5 o'clock weekend. It's the one weekend of the year because we're getting daylight savings time and they aren't, or whatever way it works. Our clocks go back and the Americans don't. It means that everything is on an hour earlier. You know, Sunday Night Football starts at 12:15. Red Zone starts at 5. It's my favorite weekend of the year, genuinely. And it's a bank holiday Monday. I don't have to go into work on Monday morning. So I'm going to stay up to watch all the late ones. But in terms of primetime games, let's talk a little bit about what happened last night on Here we go.
Monday Night Football. Monday Night Football. Monday Night. Monday Night.
That goes on for like 30 seconds, but I'm slowly building up my my list of stings. Right, before we get on to the Seahawks, let's talk very briefly about Lions Buccaneers, because I just want to give a shout out to Tate Ratledge, the offensive lineman who did an unbelievable piece of play for the Jahmyr Gibbs touchdown. And everyone's like, "Oh my God, Jahmyr Gibbs, fantastic run in the first half. Was instrumental to make sure that the Lions went into that one 14-3 up at halftime in a game where the Buccaneers had a lot of touchdowns, and Mike Evans now out for the year, which is sad. We're not going to see him build up another 1,000-yard season. But Tate Ratledge's work to build up the gap. He had to go around almost like 180 degrees to push the defensive lineman out of the way. And then as soon as Jahmyr Gibbs started, he just stood and watched like a proud father watching his son go to college for the first time, So I know obviously your focus on Monday Night Football was on the other game, but what did you see from this game? And the Lions, considering all the injuries they're having defensively, put up a nice dominant one, particularly on defense here against Baker Mayfield and co.
Yes, they played great. I did stay up and watch the first half of this because the Seahawks game didn't start till 3 a.m. I woke up this morning and I nearly caught the end of it. I decided I was gonna wait till my alarm and get up and watch the highlights afterwards. But also explain that I don't know the reasoning behind the 3 o'clock in the night game. It must have been West Coast, but it was West Coast. It was Lumenfield. But anyway, the Lions, they played great. They were firing on all cylinders. Amon-Ra St. Brown came out absolutely humming. Jahmyr Gibbs, as a proud Jahmyr Gibbs fantasy football player owner, he was great last night. I saw highlights of, as you said, offensive tackles running down and laying blocks. Penei Sewell was moving last night in the clip, he did miss the block, but he honestly could have run a 4.5 on the 40-yard dash. He was absolutely moving. So when you're seeing highlights of every position on your field, it's been a good night. And for the Bucs, I mean, the injury bug that we were kind of worried about and saying, "Oh, it doesn't matter who Baker's throwing to, they're gonna pull it off." They've come back down to earth, and that injury bug really has come to fruition. Now it's a nice time in the season for that to happen. It's not, you're not stumbling into the playoffs with players hurt. You got guys to get back. You've built yourself up a nice little buffer. But that does seem to be the case with Baker Mayfield and the Bucs. Their wide receivers are out. Their defensive players are out. The Bucky Irving is still out. So it's hard to tell. Was that a true win for the Lions? You got to come out and you got to beat the teams in front of you, and they did that convincingly.
Yeah, fair enough. I did watch a bit of this in Charlotte Airport as my flight was delayed, so I managed to catch some of it. And some Buccaneers fans were there, and I think they were just sort of, I guess, frustrated at just the fact that these. So much of their offense has, as much as Baker Mayfield has been this sort of great MVP candidate, so much has relied on the wide receivers being able to just be physical enough to make the plays, and that just wasn't happening. A lot of key moments in the first half last night. But we switch over to the game, which, as you say, kicked off at a reasonable time if you live in the West Coast, not a reasonable time if you live in the East Coast of America, never mind living in Ireland. What I liked about this one, and I haven't seen as much of this as the other Monday night game, because I knew you would have seen it. We'll talk about Jackson Smith-Njigba in a minute, but the Seahawks defense got a lot of pressure on CJ Stroud, and his offensive line is giving up a lot of pressure. I think he faced pressure in a third of his dropbacks. Although people are saying that just the way that Seattle defense works, because the Seattle defense is great at sort of making you feel like under pressure when really you're not. They're probably the best in the league at doing that. It's sort of covering exactly what it is that they're trying to do. It felt like CJ Stroud was sort of running away from his defense all night. It was a 27-19 victory in the end. The Texans scoring more the later we got on into the game, but you have to be pretty pleased with the offensive output at key moments here from the Seahawks. Jackson Smith-Njigba, the first thing I saw when I landed this morning was a text from you in all caps being like, "Pay him all the money in the world." So there's a lot of excitement over his performance in particular.
Yeah, both sides of the ball, there's a lot to look at. Offensively, they turn the ball over a lot, and they still putting out 27 points and still getting a very convincing win. it stands to just how well the defense played in part, that the offense did them not really many favors and gave them a lot of short fields. But the praise going around the people, and we're fans of the game. We're not playing this game since we're 6 years of age. I don't know much about scheming. I don't know much about the in-depth looking at football, but all I'm hearing right now is praise for Mike McDonald's defense and what he's doing and how he's able to get the players in the best position to make plays. Nick Mwari was everywhere. He was like a Swiss Army knife. Leonard Williams was playing out of his mind. Ernest Jones, a linebacker, got a pick, and they have him in the right place at all times. Reek Woolen is back and playing like his rookie year self. So yeah, the defense came in and bailed that offense out. It was a total team win. It was great to see, and a great victory against an extremely stout defense. I mean, whatever about CJ Stroud's offensive line, that defense is absolutely nothing to laugh at. I believe it's a top unit in the league. And they came out and to put 27 points on and to let JSN go off like he did again. He's leading the league in reception or receiving yards, which is great to see. Yeah, it was a great night to be a Seahawks fan.
Absolutely, it's such a funny one though, right? Because I've seen this and I'm like, okay, that they're at 5-2, but I think I'm right in saying that in the NFC West they're still third. And like, if I saw that the seedings this morning as to what would happen if the season ended today, and I think I'm right in saying that out of the three teams in the NFC West, obviously the Niners are on top, then it's the Rams, then it's the Seahawks. Rams Seahawks maybe switch, but I mean the Seahawks have the same record as the Buccaneers and the Lions and the Eagles. So in terms of like that race to the NFC number 1 seed, but they just can't, they're in the worst division possible to be in that position.
It feels like the NFC North last year, when the Vikings with 14 wins, become a wild card. It's crazy to hear, but yeah, we're second in the division because we haven't played the Rams, so no one has a one over one another, but we've got a better points differential. That we're second, and at seeing the Niners on top of both of us when we definitely feel like better teams is crazy. I don't know what's going over there in Santa Clara, but yeah, it's a really competitive division. You're getting really great football out of 3 of the 4 teams, and I think we are basically the NFC North of last year. So.
Yeah, the NFC North has moved west. Speaking of 5-2, by the way, the Patriots are sitting very nicely after winning three road games in a row. Which is funny because I'm just waiting for them to come home and then drop a dud in Foxborough.
We're the only 2 members of the Irish NFL show that seem to be happy with their teams at the moment.
I don't know. I feel like Bears fans are generally pleased, are they not? They're after winning 3 in a row.
Connor seems very cautious. He's very cautious to get up and get happy about it. But yeah, I mean, as I said, the Bears finally won it. They won another off season, but it seems to be paying off for them in this season. So we'll see how it goes. But the rest of the guys are struggling. They're struggling hard over there in MetLife.
Yeah, I think the less said about that, the better. Although it's been a huge talk about it. It was even actually talked about on the Indoor Sport podcast today, which usually if there's American football being talked about, it's only because I'm in specifically talk about, but it was just a general talking point. The Giants at large, and then some aspects of it.
We won't touch on it here.
So yeah. Right, I think that's it. If we had more time, I'd talk about the fact that Billy Napier has been fired and has been given a boatload of money. He's probably going to end up getting another head coaching job. But
Vandy beats LSU. I am going to Tennessee and I'm going to see a Vanderbilt game. I can't wait.
Between Vandy and Indiana, it's just been an absolutely incredible. Like the vibes around college football are immaculate right now. In those programs, I was watching some of the Vandy game in a bar on Saturday night, and it's just like it's
Diego Pavia is going to drink for free in Tennessee for the rest of his life.
Yeah, I don't know. That's you gotta love it though. You have to love it. And knowing full well that Brian Kelly's probably also going to be fired as well. But that's probably enough for the college talk. I gotta go catch my train. I know you gotta catch some sleep after your long travel day on Sunday. This is gonna be weird now. All of the Irish NFL show is going to be like in their homes this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Like no one's away on holidays. No one's going to like Thursday night football. No one's trying to head off to an international game. Yeah, we got 2 weeks of break before the 2 of us head off to Germany. So What are we supposed to do? To sit in our homes and watch football? What is this?
No,
We're
no,
very fortunate.
it's a strange feeling. We'll see how we go on Sunday when we're looking around and we're not seeing other NFL fans shouting and screaming. But yeah, it's gonna be nice. As you said, 5 o'clock game's kicking off, so
Yeah.
can be we might not go into, as I have to go into work on Monday, but I might go into work as tired as normal.
Yeah, no, I don't have to go into work. Well, I don't think I do. But yeah,
Well, for some. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Well, anyway, I gotta go catch a train. I'll let you guys all settle in. Thank you very much for listening to the AV Club. We'll be back with our usual schedule of Thursday Night Football preview, and of course our big live show previewing this the 5 o'clock weekend on Thursday Night Live across our YouTube channel. Make sure if you're watching on our YouTube channel if you can, and then it will be available to you on podcast on Friday morning. But for now, thank you very much for listening to the Irish NFL Show.